Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to ELO Hell's coverage of the North American Contenders Trials Season 3. We're on at this point, 2020, bringing all the action at you today. My name is Dort, and I am joined by the always wonderful Moxie. We have a great matchup on board for you. We're starting things off right with Uprising Academy taking on Cratos for the first match of these group stages. Mox, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. If you're Uprising Academy, you're feeling a little bit antsy. You want to get the motions going, though, because this is one of the first games we're going to see of the NA side of Contenders Trial Season 3, but it's not the first time these teams have met each other. In the previous iteration of Trials back in Season 2, Uprising Academy and Kratos met, with Kratos walking away the victor after a clean 2-0 sweep.
And not only that, these were two of the teams that were contesting for one of those spots going into Contenders. Kratos was just on the edge. I mean, they got eked out by Square One. Literally one map, the difference between them and Contenders. They want to come in and they want to make a splash, and it all starts with being able to repeat what they did against UA prior. Not to mention the fact that this is a relatively similar meta, Moxie. There's a couple more doors open for UA to take should they choose to do so, though. That might make this match a little bit more interesting.
And another thing that's going to make this map a little bit more interesting, though, is that it's not a first to two format anymore. We're back on first to three. The teams Blizzard has heard the complaints. They're going to give us more Overwatch, more times for these players to show us the stuff that they're made of as we head over to Oasis. There's going to be a very slight pause, but just as quickly back into the game. And it's very interesting as well. We've been having a look at these rosters, a look through the previous iterations of compositions that both of these guys came out on in their last run of trials. And not a single one of them leaned into that dive-heavy composition. So even though we're headed into Oasis, I think we're just going to be seeing double shield coming out of both of these spawn doors.
Well, I mean, it's become more the fancy of teams to run these days. The double shield is it's a little bit old school. The Zarya Winston dive is kind of the new black nowadays. However, neither team locking that in. In fact, Uprising Academy are going a little bit old school with their dive.
Yeah, going to be locking in with that Winston Diva. You will have a lot more peel available for your backline, and when you're running Dead Anna, you have to have peel to actually save her skin. Remember, you don't have that 25-second deployable of an immortality field that you can just put down to cheat the ultimate economy. And so it's all about keeping that main support alive the old-fashioned way, with defense matrix, with a Winston bubble, but it does mean you're a very vulnerable target if Max was able to infiltrate that backline.
It's a big if, though. Maxwell has a long way to go between him and going where he wants to. Double Shield wants to set up on the high ground. And taking that is a relatively trivial task. You can get up there. It's picking away the dive, who can all hide behind these corners, but not Aztec, who immediately falls on the Ana here. Now without main heals, this composition lacks legs to stand on. The dive is going to be completely unsuccessful because you don't have the players to keep your own up.
Wayfast cannot get close at the moment. You're just having to keep a distance, try to keep yourself alive, poking a little bit of chip damage, but Kratos have already picked up the point. And one thing we know Double Shield is very good at is drawing these fights out, and Kratos aren't allowing Uprising Academy a clean disengage right now. All the while, that point's still ticking up in their favor.
There's no space being given, but what has been given over is the immortality field. Kratos no longer have that critical ability to fall back on tap, can sneak around the side. You can start building up ultimates, and they should be guaranteed to land as long as you get them down within that 25-second period that the cooldown's still online. Right now, though, Kratos still not giving ground, even though they're down in cooldowns, even though they're down in abilities. The Winston comes in, a ton of cleave damage from Crandop, now looking for the dive over top, is going to continue to do so. Immortality field used again here on Borkin and Crory, and the dive opportunities continue, but they're not being taken advantage of by Uprising. Now Macwell's going to come in, try and clean up your backline with a blade. The deflect doesn't quite hit, but he's gotten himself the one that he needs to end things here.
And the fight, it's still going. Uprising Academy are split right now. The Tracer is behind enemy lines, though. You cannot afford to lose a player, especially one who's already got an ultimate charged up, because it's down to Wayfast to come in with this Pulse Bomb, to pull out Immortality Field from 6 feet, and that's going to allow Tap to come in with this blade, with the Nana behind him, to pick up the kills Uprising Academy desperately need.
Nano Blade's one to watch, but the Gridic Flux also could come up in time. The rally's going to be used to start things off here from Kratos, and into the backline goes Tap, slashing and dashing his way through. How much value can he get is a big question. Was the Immortality Field even used? Okay, it was. They at least got that out, but very little value outside of that. 6 feet will fall on with that. this defense gets a lot harder. No main support for the bunker composition means that all of this damage that the dive is doing is effectively going to be permanent. The Brigitte cannot possibly keep everybody alive here. You need to look for a re-engage with the Grid of Flux. You need to use this bongo effectively, or else this fight's gonna end extremely quickly, Moxie.
Vulcan's just gonna keep a hold of it. Because Cratos, they may be losing this fight, but they're going to be winning this round if they play the patient game. They're 99% already on the board. They just need to disengage, bank up ultimates, and come in for the absolute wombo combo where everyone presses Q at the same time. Uprising Academy cannot allow Cratos to draw these fights out, cannot allow these ultimates to come online. So it's all going to come down to Wayfast right now. This Tracer has to be able to land this pulse bomb, has to be able to delay the push yet again, allowing Tap to hit that blade. Otherwise, Cratos are going to be calling extremely quickly.
It's all set on a timer. Like you said, Wayfast needs to connect the pulse bomb, looking for the Brigitte around the back side here. Gunther knows exactly what's up, but he gets stuck anyways, delivers it to his teammate. A lot of damage thrown down onto the Kratos backline. Uprising Academy found the opening they need. Is it enough? That was a big question. Nanos drop down onto the monkey, make sure they don't die, but Kratos still have the tools to take this one over regardless. They've got a bongo, they've got a blade to be used if they even need it. Overtime is going to tick down here. Uprising Academy will get a contest, but probably not much more than that.
Tap is so close to that blade. This is the one player that needs to come up in the clutch right now. Unfortunately, Uprising Academy is not able to continue bleeding on to this point.
Ooh. Yeah, that one hurt to watch. Tap, that's a desperation blade if I've ever seen one. Bulb's coming in on the wrecking ball. The tanks don't have any real healing. You've got a perma rage up. You can knock a couple people into traps here. You do stand a pretty good chance. Finds one onto default. No kills going the way of Cratos either. Borkin falls. No main tank. Uprising Academy stand a really good chance here, Moxie.
But they've lost Aztec. No Ana, no main support, and 6 feet still very much available and breathing for Cratos, which means this flip is not going to be coming in quite yet.
Not yet. A couple players alive. This fight far from over right now as the wrecking ball continues to spin to win on point. Wayfast being a real nuisance along the side, but 6 feet turning himself into a pseudo DPS on the Baptiste here, cleaning things up nicely. Tap overhead, gets damage in, but is really struggling to actually find those picks along with the Tracer of Wayfast. The point ticks over, overtime ticks down, and Kratos are going to take map 1 of Oasis.
There was a lot of differences between the two teams in that map, though. But the main difference, and it always comes back to this, is that support lineup. When you run that Baptiste, you've got Immortality Field. You don't have to worry about building up to something like a Sound Barrier. You just get 25 seconds and you chuck it in, saving your entire team from an ultimate. Uprising Academy, on the other hand, when they don't run that Immortality Field, they sacrifice that safety, that cushion. And they do it not even for more healing, it's for more aggression with that Ana play, so you've got Nano to allow the Genji Tap to come in with that blade for it to be bigger and better than Maxwell's, but that doesn't happen. And headed off into University, we're going to be seeing no Ana on the board for either of these two teams, and it is the wise decision. It's a very risky gamble, and sometimes it's just safer to stick with that 25-second cooldown.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to see neither team going for a brawl composition here. I think Uprising Academy might stand a much better chance running this double shield mirror if they can get in. But Kratos have already gained themselves a point, and Crandop falls early. That is inexcusable. Aztec misses the Immortality Field. Crandop is way too far forward. This was a huge misstep on the side of Uprising Academy, and they are going to pay for it big time.
Yeah, not just in this fight, but in the fights that come as well. Because now Cratos are in control of this point, they're in control of all the tempo of these engagements. Uprising Academy are going to be taking so much spam damage. You can already see T-Fault rocketing up towards that first ultimate. 6 feet's already got an amplification matrix to drop.
And they're going to use it beautifully. Takedown falls. Continue to spiral this one out of control. Remember this entire time, Moxie, the point's ticking over.
Unfortunately for Uprising Academy as well, they will be coming in with Amplification Matrix, but Kratos can afford to disengage. They can give grounds, whereas Aztec is going to have to pop that one prematurely just to buy his team safe passage through this first little bit towards that point.
And they're just sitting outside the door. They know exactly what's sitting on the other end. They don't want to run into it. Corey has a Remic Flux nearly online. Maxwell has the blade locked and loaded. Tap needs to come up big with this one and make it count early. Otherwise, Kratos are going to come back firing. Disengage off the point. You've lost one member here. You may be able to buy enough time to get that spawn back in with this Remic Flux. Starting things off. Picks up 2. Blade for Maxwell. Looks to clean up afterwards. Falls. And with that, Uprising Academy have lost a major key to this composition. Draws out a ton of utility. Immortality Field be damned. Kratos are coming for your spawn.
But Kratos used so many ultimates in the process. Wayfast investing a bomb That's something that you're going to want back in this next fight, because now Tap Blade, it doesn't have that threat. If you sent in both of the DPS ultimates at the same time, you would have cut off Kratos' exit, and they wouldn't have had anything to peel. They'd already invested their Bob, they'd already invested that Sigma Flux. As it is now, Uprising Academy have to be able to get Tap safely through this main road, into this composition, pull out Blade, and then bait out Immortality Field first.
Well, Immortality Field's out, but so is Amplification Matrix, which is a scary prospect for both these teams. Tap coming in, trying to get a little something done with his Blade, but it's false in the kill feed on the Sigma. Cleaning up 3 to his name, makes it a 4-piece dinner for him, then ticks it over at 97%.
And for Uprising Academy, you've got to start investing ultimates to keep Kratos away. It's not a matter of winning fights, it's a matter of delaying them right now. You're going to have supercharges, you're going to have amplification matrix, you've got to drop these and hope that you're able to halt someone in the side of Kratos into that damage to delay these pushes for as long as you possibly can. Otherwise, Maxwell's going to be coming in with that Blade, and you have nothing to deal with it.
Oh, we all know exactly what's about to happen here. What a stun, though, from Dridro. Saves the day. They know the Genji's here now. Maxwell, he used his dash cool. That was, you know what? The rest of his team died. You can't really fault him that much for it, but it wasn't pretty. I'll say that much.
Well, Uprising Academy were faultless in that engagement. They did it all with the one ultimate, that amplification matrix, and now you were so close for Force to be able to hit the Sigma Flux. Supercharges is going to be there for Cran Drop, and Maxwell, he doesn't want to pull Blade out until he's safely into the middle of this team composition. So Uprising Academy, they've got a win condition right now, and that is just keep that Genji off their backs for a couple more seconds.
And they may not have seconds if Crandop dies again here. 60% taking over, and Uprising Academy have given themselves a much better chance. What on earth is this? They immediately drop this bongo. Wayfast is able to get one off of it, though, and without the main heals, this push is going to be successful. A very aggressive dive from the bunker composition, but it works out in the favor of Uprising Academy.
That was such a beautiful play coming out. Crandrop has just posted like a juicy steak right in front of Kratos' face, and now Wayfast is going to be right behind their backs with this pop. So even when Maxwell comes in with this Blade, you're going to have that faux 7th member to act as a shield.
They don't know! The bomb comes out, the dynamite connects, but Wayfast has not gotten nearly enough value off of this. You're going to be going down immediately. There's no DPS left for Uprising Academy. That failed miserably on every level, Moxie. The idea was there, but the execution far from it. Maxwell cleans up point, 97% going to take over on the point. It's going into OT for both these sides, and it is not looking good for Uprising Academy.
Wayfast is on the Tracer. If you can buy enough time for Aztec to come back onto this Batiste, you've got Amplification Matrix, you can drop it on point. Sustainability, aggression, but you've got to keep filtering through. You can't allow overtime to start taking out.
They can't deal with the Bob, but can they deal with that Blade? Absolutely. Immortality Field is thrown out, keeping Crory alive. And with that, they will be able to hold overtime over. Uprising Academy should be down 1-0.
Unfortunately, it is not to be for Uprising Academy on that iteration of University. And it's such a shame too, because they had some really nice plays. That moment where they really feed the Arista to the wolves, that worked out perfectly. What they tried next, not so much. That Ash being behind them, it would have worked if you'd been able to connect the shots. When that Genji Blade comes out from Maxwell, the Bob gets sent through, and that should deny that Genji's existence entirely. And then the Ash can shoot the dynamite, and you can just start coming up in the kill feed, and there's nothing that Kratos are going to do. They're not expecting it, but it doesn't happen because the execution fails, it flops. And suddenly, Uprising Academy have fragmented themselves voluntarily. They're lacking DPS, they're lacking a threat that keeps the rest of Kratos away from just walking forward and taking up that point.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty sure I saw the Bob just sail through the team without touching anybody, which is definitely not what you want. Because you're relying on the Bob to pop people up so that then you can get out on the Ash and rely on that to kind of save yourself. But when you're on the I don't know. It was a little bit of a weird play, a little bit of misstep from UA, but it's going to be the reason that they end up losing on Oasis. Now we're headed to our second map of the evening. It's going to be Uprising Academy and Cratos going over to Junkertown, which plays out very differently and very much more so DPS heavy.
I mean, we're seeing a resurgence of the Widowmaker, aren't we? And we love to see it, though. When you have that battle of wits, when it is purely DPS versus DPS, who is able to find the head first, immediately opening the door for the rest of their team, you can still have, a joint effort, allowing you to help out if you have something like a Hammond or a Winston or even a Diva sometimes, going after that Widowmaker, trying to tip the score a little bit in your favor, break the sanctity of the Widow versus Widow. But it all begins and ends with those DPS lineups.
Absolutely. There's almost no surprises here. We expect to see Widowmaker. The Ashe is effectively stepping down from the duel, trying to opt for more damage, but then you have to play incredibly safely, which is hard when a point is this open. Here in a moment, though, absolutely nothing surprising about these team compositions. Both these teams, most notably, are very much meta-focused. Cratos don't like mixing things up all that much, and Uprising Academy don't like mixing things up much either. It's going to be some very, very vanilla double shield action for probably the rest of the night with these two.
I'm keeping my eye on way fast because Uprising Academy lost University because the Ashe failed to hit those shots when you went for the back rank. If Wayfast continues to fail to hit those shots and Default gets to run amok in this entire team's composition, then there is nothing you can do that's going to allow you to be on an even footing in any of these engagements.
Mox, let's get into map 2. Can Cratos take match point, or Uprising Academy finally gonna start fighting back? Take down the people that sent them down last season of Contenders Trials. Way fast, starting it off right with Maxwell going down, but that spawn will be coming back relatively quickly here, and the cart continues forward for Cratos.
But Wayfast now has confidence, and Default's looking for them, but you've got a Sigma shield to hide behind. Remember, it is so hard for an attacking Widow to try to infiltrate an already defending Widow because she's so much better set up.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Wayfast is playing very reserved, nor scared is what I would normally say here, but they seem to have a right idea of what they want to be doing. Into the backline goes Wayfast! Oh, he peeks into the spawn. There's nothing reserved about that one. Finds the frag they're looking for. Tap cleans up one more. No more DPS left alive here for Cratos to hold with, and this push is going to be stopped right in its tracks.
Uprising Academy are making sure that no one from Cratos can actually get anywhere near Wayfast, which means this Widowmaker is uncontested. And unfortunately, that then falls to Default to manage to connect these shots. But Default isn't getting anywhere near the amount of team support that is currently available to Wayfast, and so it's so much harder. Not only do you have to find the head, but you've got to do it through 2 layers of shielding.
And everybody knows exactly what's around the square. They can see each other. Yeah, we know. We know what's up. The Widow's
like a little game of with Genji.
Yeah, exactly. Default can go for all the peaks they want. Maxwell's effectively on peel duty as far as the Genji goes. You're waiting for the pick to come through, but so far it has only been Wayfast, and it continues to be 6 feet falls! And Uprising Academy are basically on the back of one player, and Wayfast now no longer in the game. Opens up the door for Maxwell to come in. Cratos to start working on that backline, force out the immortality field. Now they can move forward, but they're bleeding out way too quickly, Moxie.
Honestly, Wayfast did his duty. He'd done his job when he got that Batiste out of the way, because Cratos can't push without that main support. You lack immortality field, you didn't have access to amplification matrix, which will be there in the next fight. But if Wayfast is able to shut that Batiste down once more, the exact same thing's going to happen.
We expect similar things in this fight. This time, Wayfast has even bigger sightlines to work with, but both amplification matrixes throwing down a ton of damage. Chucked straight onto Borkin here. They need a way to open things up, and Wayfast knows exactly how to do it. Looking for the drop on the Great Flux. Everybody at half HP. It's an easy cleanup here for Tap with the Blade. Finds himself 4. Looking for the Widowmaker. Even 134 on the clock. And Uprising Academy are looking a lot stronger with the help of Wayfast.
And especially now, if you look at the ultimates that they're going to have, yes, Cratos are coming in with a Blade and the Sigma Flux, but first they've got to get close enough to actually use them. Whereas Crandrop, the second you see even the slightest whisker of a Cratos presence, you drop the supercharges, you buy yourself the space, you allow Wayfast to set up and try and get one of these early picks off, and that's been why the composition has been working. Wayfast has been able to connect the shots this time around, and this is a completely different story.
Oh, now it's Tap's turn. The Blade's in. Maxwell has to chop through this immortality field to get to the backline, though. Gets himself 1, looking for more. Cratos may have broken this hold. They just have to take care of the Earth, so they absolutely will. And with that 50 seconds on the clock, we're going to be seeing a little bit of B, Moxie.
But they've got to be able to set up on this high ground. They cannot allow Wayfast access to that. Otherwise, it's going to be a very small part of B that we're going to get to see, though. Orkin's got those supercharges as well, so Cratos can use that to bolster their aggression, to have that confidence to go for these really aggressive style of plays. Because if you allow Tap to just sit up on this ledge and poke away with you at shurikens, then you're going to be finding yourself at the barrel end of a Genji blade that can just snuff you out entirely.
Not to mention the fact that way fast, nobody has a clue where this guy is right now. The Widowmaker is always going to be such a threat here with so much high ground control being given over to Uprising Academy. Cratos are going to try and contest here, coming in with the bongo, trying to force them off the high ground. There's no amplification matrix to match. The immortality field's been forced out. Now Maxwell can start going to work in the back line. The right clicks are aplenty with this man. Twist right through, getting all the resets. It's starting to feel like the Genji of Maxwell is being the real difference maker for Cratos. It's not over yet though, as Tap and the opposing DPS are still alive, and somehow Uprising Academy clutched that one out.
How did Wayfast survive? That was the definition of frontline Widow, and Wayfast is able to get away intact with Infrasight. And so now, when Default tries to pop in, it's going to be at a disadvantage because Wayfast has got wall hacks.
It gets infinitely harder here when you're trying to dodge the Widowmaker, but a minute 50 on the clock is not that much to reach the end of it. You're one fight away. You have no ultimates to do it. You have maybe this blade from Maxwell. It's been big so far. Amplification Matrix maybe buys you a little bit of time, but it's definitely dire straits here for Cratos. Pushing their way into the lower room. Maxwell is more than happy to drop blade in here. Pardon me, Immortality Field saving all of Uprising Academy for the time being. Now it's Tapster to come in with a blade. Immediately gets shut down by Default. Firing bullet after bullet straight through this doorway. Riddick Flux as well from False. Used from both sides. It's a scrappy fight, but absolutely nobody is going down here, Mox, until finally Uprising Academy can crack the nut and get their way through with the help of Wayfast.
Oh my goodness. Kratos! They had the means. When they go into side room, they took the spam damage. They had the Sigma Flux. They had the blades, but they used them at the wrong times, though. Corey drops in that Sigma Flux, but Maxwell's already bladed. So Aztec's already healed up the entirety of Uprising Academy. And so all you do is convert that Sigma Flux drop down into Ult Charge. Aztec's going to have another amplification matrix, try and drop another supercharger, and Cratos, they don't have the time to go for these side rooms. It's the final fight territory. They've just got to eat the brunt of the damage.
Oh, that was a nice shield bash by Dridger. It's a small thing, but not getting dropped to high ground is great there. Maxwell, what are you doing over there? Falling to Tap way too early. Way fast. Has the sight lines. Everybody knows he's there now, though. Not nearly as significant of a threat. Still trying to fire in on the Ash. 1v1 goes down way fast. What a shot! From nose to nose, cheek to cheek, takes down Default, asserts his dominance. 15 seconds left on the clock. It doesn't look like Cratos are going to get another attempt. They're going to have to hold even better.
They're just going for the desperation picks right now. The Hammond, the Lucio, the Tracer, everyone's just trying to get that tap onto the payload. But Aztec is just sitting there with amplification matrix. They're walking straight into the damage.
I mean, realistically, Moxie, this one's just not gonna happen. You're running in. Your health bars are the only thing keeping you alive. You do have Tap coming in with a blade. Gets himself one. Pulls out a lot of utility. Looking for a second onto the Aristo. He's kept alive pretty well there. 560, but you can't expect anything more unless Maxwell can maybe clean up his back line. The Baptiste drops low. He's found the first one. Can he get a second? Overtime ticking down, and he's not able to be two places at once. Uprising Academy do pull out a successful stop. Way fast with a little bit of style points at the end of it, and they've only got to make it halfway through B.
Wayfast has completely cleared their name. I'm sorry, redemption arc complete for that hit scan player right now. Because my goodness, the fact that that payload slows down for that amount of time on A and then entirely on B, it is all down to that Widowmaker. Yes, the team were creating this space. Yes, Tap was making sure that Maxwell did not get into that backline to try and distract Wayfast from that task. But at the end of the day, Wayfast is still able to connect each and every single one of those bullets onto each individual target. Going for the Baptiste, then managing to get the Widowmaker out of the way, you're depriving Cratos of that main support, and that forces them into the disengagement. And when you're not running that Lucio, disengagements are sloppy, and that allows the Widowmaker to come in and clear up house when everyone is just beating that retreat as quickly as they possibly can.
Well, beat on Uprising Academy's drum all you want, Moxie, but they're not done yet. Remember, this is double shield versus double shield. You and I know better than anybody else how many pushes we've seen stopped here at Point A on Junkertown. The pushes take forever. The sidelines, while good for the Widowmaker, do not guarantee anything when you're playing on this map. Everything is so different here. It's going to be a non-trivial task for Uprising Academy.
And now the tables have flipped as well. Everything that was an advantage for Wayfast is now available for Default. Kratos just have to be able to utilize it to the same effect.
And immediately headshots coming out. Default playing much more together with their team. Pretty much expected stuff so far. You can tell Wayfast just trying to figure out where this Widowmaker is, using the emote to scout out around the corner. Not willing to really peek anything. Default playing in a very different position, though, from where Wayfast was in previous rounds. This might be the mix-up they need.
Tap's just going for these really aggressive plays, hoping that it draws Default out into revealing the position, and it definitely does, but Wayfast's head is the one that falls.
That was a nasty shot from Default, and that should lead to Uprising Academy getting beat out here. Cratos, though, refused to get aggressive with this.
They don't want to go too aggressive because they know Wayfast will be popping out of those respawn doors at any moment. And if you go too aggressive onto that main road, you are far too exposed to a Widowmaker that can hit their shots.
Well, now it's Default trying to hit the shot yet again. The opposing Widowmaker, Wayfast peeking around the right side, looking for the duel. Eats himself a nice little body shot. Immortality Field's been forced out of Uprising Academy, though they're running out of tools for his attack. Just one more shot on the falls, and Default's always going to be hitting that one. Ends him rightly, cleans up another on the tap, and Uprising Academy, it's GG, go next to them.
It's so hard to be that attacking Widowmaker and walk into Default, who is already set up. And now Wayfast isn't getting the team support. Maxwell is just able to go ham and hunt out that Widowmaker time and time again and not allow the fight to be fair at all. And unfortunately for Uprising Academy, until they can unlodge Default's position, it is going to be 25% harder to actually get onto that payload and stay alive, because you've got to worry about the front line, you've got to worry about what the tanks are doing, but you've also got to remember that Widowmaker is going to be looking to end things early with a headshot onto your Baptiste.
Well, I like what Cratos have done here, though. They've bought themselves a lot of space backing away from the application matrix. Neither team really wanting to be the one that peaks. However, Wayfast has a really bad position here. Getting into the back line is going to be incredibly difficult. You have to go on the flank, but this is extremely risky if you get caught out.
You can see Default knows that there is a possibility that Wayfast is going to be flanking, but when the Widowmaker's flanking, the threat is not there. And you can see Cratos, now they're unburdened by it, they can surge ahead, they can sweep over Uprising Academy, and with 1 minute 35 seconds left on the clock, though it is dire straits for this team. They'll be coming into a really powerful combination of ultimates, Supercharger, Blade, Sigma Flux, but you are exposing yourself each and every single time that Sigma boosts up into the sky to Default. You cannot pop that ultimate until Default's head falls first.
And make sure the Widow's out of the way. They haven't even managed to take him down yet. A lot of that down to the fact that Maxwell has been dealing so effectively on the Genji, and in he comes with a blade of his own. Griddick Flux used beautifully, shielded by Cratos, keeping the entire team alive. Immortality Field out, as well as the rally. So much the same for this team, but the Orisa still falls. With that, Uprising Academy should be able to push their way through using only a couple of the ultimates out of their bag.
Maxwell still alive, though, going to be trying to pull out that blade as quickly as possible. As that payload still contested on the road, only now going to be able to move forward, though, but the time bank is very far behind what Cratos were coming into with themselves. In Uprising Academy, they're going to have to go aggressive if they want to start pushing this into B. They've got the means to do so. Infrasight and Amplification Matrix is going to force Default to think twice about when you want to pop your head out, but Maxwell can get in much easier, and without lots of punishment, can find a lot of value to build up that blade.
And you know what? I love the aggressive forward hold here from Cratos. Looking to end things early, get those respawns in if they get the opportunity. Default is continuing to do peak after peak, making it very dangerous for Uprising Academy to actually move anywhere. Wayfast has no sightlines, mind you. Just a couple onto the Sigma, the Orisa every once in a while. The cart can continue forward, but not at a fast pace.
And Default's gonna pop Infrasight as well, just as Wayfast runs out. So that Widowmaker going to be cowed once again, as Default doesn't even care to look for her, just goes for the rest of the front line.
It's getting really tricky here. Neither team really wants to be the one that breaks that silence, but as the cart moves, it's going to be on Cratos to make a move eventually. Immortality Field's been used out, so is the Amplification Matrix from Cratos, however, and the cart moving forward ever slower. It's approaching that yellow box, Moxie.
You can see Aztec going to drop Amplification Matrix just as 6 Feet runs out, so advantage that was there for Cratos completely gone. Uprising Academy should be able to sweep this one right out of their feet, especially with the Immortality Field already out of the way.
Things are getting hard here for Cratos. They don't have space. Their positioning is, I mean, awful. It is abysmal. You have to send your tank in. Maxwell's blade has to be big to clean up. Immortality Field's been used to stop everything. Great deflect. Puts a lot of the damage away, but the Griddick Flux from False looks to put Cratos away and seal out this map to tie things up 1-1, Moxie.
That Sigma Flux means that Maxwell's Blade finds nothing of the amount of value Cratos were hoping for. And now Uprising Academy, they've got sustainability, they've got that immortality field, and they've got Junkertown beneath their belts. My goodness, what a turnaround for this team.
I mean, how much of that, though, is off the back of just the Widowmaker play? God, how many heads did we see popped?
I mean, a lot of it, yes, is down to Wayfast, but a lot of it as well, we do have to give benefit to the rest of the team for making sure that Wayfast had that space to work with. We saw the difference, how long it took for them to safely get across A, and how little difference that Wayfast was actually able to make in those engagements, where there was just again, she constantly after them, constantly dogging their feet, making sure that it's the other Widowmaker who gets right of way. And that was when we saw Uprising Academy really struggle. But when they had the space, when the frontline were able to provide that open area for Wayfast to work with, and when Tap was able to go into the other side's backline and do a little bit of their own medicine, that was when Wayfast was able to pop. That was when that Widowmaker was coming up in the kill feed and having the impact that allows Uprising Academy to pick up that map.
Well, it's already a better series than their previous one up against Cratos, but it is not over yet. Far from it. In fact, one of these teams looking to take it to match point. We'll be finding out which one of those it is on Temple of Anubis in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with you after a short break. Welcome back, ladies and gents. It is Door and Moxie joining you for the second half of this series. We got Cratos currently tied up 1-1 up against Uprising Academy. It was an explosive start of the series for both of these teams. Cratos coming out and making a serious statement on control, whereas Uprising Academy, off of the back of some incredible Widowmaker play from way faster, were able to secure themselves Junkertown. Now, though, we're heading to what might just be the true home of Junkrat in Temple of Anubis, Moxie. How you feeling about this matchup so far, and which way do you see this next map going?
I mean, you say Junkrat. I love to see Widowmaker on Temple of Anubis. I've got my fingers crossed. I'm excited. I love to see the Widowmaker versus Widowmaker. It is skill to skill, and the teams can try to even the standing just a little bit if they interrupt that duel. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to which Widowmaker is able to shoot the other better. So heading into Temple of Anubis, we don't get to see her as much, because she is extremely vulnerable when she gets leapt upon with only a 12-second cooldown on that grapple. Extremely punishing if a Genji is able to close the distance. So most likely it's going to be the spam compositions coming out like the Junkrat, like the Ashe, where you just park yourself up in that high ground and you delay the fight for as long as you possibly can. Because remember, if the defending side are able to just burn seconds off the bank, they're winning.
Yeah, and if there's one thing these teams are really good at, it's running just whatever the meta says they're supposed to run. Full on vanilla ice cream, plain Jane, exactly how they like it. No nuts, no chocolate,
No 99 flakes,
none of the
no
nice things that you
sprinkles.
put in. Yeah, none of the things that you like, Moxie. Just vanilla. And honestly, that kind of leads me to suspect that we probably just see Ashe Genji here the same way we have in maps prior, which I think favors Cratos. Uprising Academy, when they don't have way fast Widow popping off constantly, seem to struggle a good bit. So I'd love to see, if anybody, a change from them.
Yeah, we need to see someone else from this team step up to the plate, because you're going to be on the attacking side first, which means your biggest challenge isn't actually getting a pick, it's getting into the fight door, because you are going to be looking down a lot of spam composition. Default going to be coming out on the Sombra, little bit of a difference, not vanilla ice cream, but a little bit of strawberry boop top on top. Means Tap is going to be extremely vulnerable on that Genji, but even more so, I fear for that backline. It's going to be a tough ask to get between that Brigida shield, but if you're able to get the hacks onto Aztec consistently, then you don't need to worry about getting the Batista out. You just know Immortality Field isn't going to be available for them even if he exists.
I mean, Max, I'm going to be honest. I really don't like this composition that we see out of Cratos, though. The Genji's usually able to follow up on the dynamite damage, give you a way through the shields that's going to guarantee you that last little bit of health that you need to destroy whoever just got Halt Accretion or Halt Swift Strike or Halt Dynamited. But now the Sombra's in the backline, and the Sombra and Genji are going to operate completely independent of one another. For this composition to work, both Maxwell and Default have to pop off individually. Uprising are already through that first choke point, though, and things are starting to get a little dicey as Tap looks around the back line. Default has nowhere to go, only 22% of that ultimate charge to their name. Maxwell's going to try and farm along the back line, but it is just working one another in the neutral as Cratos have to press the gas pedal, have to respond to this Uprising Academy, get way aggressive. Both use Immortality Field, both go down, but it's Grandop who's the first to fall. Uprising Academy now have to reset without their main tank.
Default's playing frontline Sombra, which means you've still got Maxwell putting the cat amongst the pigeons, forcing Uprising Academy to try and move into that fight as quickly as possible, but you don't get the chance to take the Sombra out first. And so when that double shield steps forward, Default gets to maneuver in and hack out either the Orisa or the Sigma, denying Uprising Academy 50% of their defenses.
It gets so much trickier. You've already used about a minute and a half as well if you're Uprising Academy. Remember, these double shield fights take forever, Moxie. Now Uprising, all they have is the Amplification Matrix, which in this position is very, very powerful. But if 6 feet can get theirs up in time, it's going to get just as late on there. And Maxwell decides to go straight through it, ignoring it all together, forces out the Immortality, beats it down, and then takes out the rest of the members of Uprising Academy before they can say anything about it.
And Cratos, their DPS swap positions as well. This time it's Default herding Uprising Academy into the team composition because Maxwell already had that blade built up. And because Default was doing that extra little bit of damage to tip the scales, EMP is there. And that's going to be able to come out when Tap comes in with this blade. Wayfast is going on from McCree, so you've got that flashbang to try and shut the Sombra down. But it's not about the Sombra shutdown that you want to worry about. It's the ultimate.
Well, there it is. The EMP is out. The damage from Uprising Academy needs to be there to try and fight back. Cratos closed the gap very quickly considering the fact that they don't have a Lucio, but now you're right next to spawn, and this is a dangerous place to be.
But Uprising Academy took that one on the face. They knew they were walking into an EMP and they kept a hold of the Genji blade so that they'll be able to use it in these next engagements. Unfortunately, that's still a massive gauntlet that Tap has got to make his way safely through if he wants to find value. And that all starts with Curry on the Sigma with that Flux. He can just pick that Genji up into the air, plonk him down, and none of the blade will find anything.
Matter of timing, though. They have the option of getting aggressive with it. Of course, the Halt Gravitic Flux is potent, and I mean potent. Whenever you're in this mega room, it's everybody forced into one area. False could look for the Eon. It does not get it. Halt Gravitic Flux up, catches 2 people, but that means Tap runs straight into the backline. Immediately hacked, though. The Genji can get no value. Grandov trades it out, though. 2 members of Cratos falling. The first point should be cracked open after that.
The Genji was hacked, but no one was able to translate it into a kill, duh. And Cratos can't translate the hack into a hold. And as it is now, it's going to be them just trying to hold on to this B defense for as long as they possibly can. They've got the means. They've got this blade. They've got the supercharge to give it an extra little bit of punch. Uprising Academy, if they go side room, they are going to be signing their death warrant and feeding themselves right into Maxwell's hands.
Yeah, and I think I want to see Uprising Academy be a little bit more patient here. Either approach this one with another dry fight mentality or just get on that point. Drop the bongo. Aggression will be warranted here. Immortality Field, though, has to come out immediately. Maxwell with the blade into the backline. They go. Krendov going to trade him out. Now the Great Flux is going to be online for Kari at about 50%, but the defense is going to continue to rack up that percentage as the hold starts to take foot.
Hawkin already onto the ham in desperation, just trying to set up a little bit of the spin cycle if he can. 6 feet goes down though, and there goes all of the sustainability that should be there for Cratos.
And that is such a big pick. Now Maxwell has to come in on the Doomfist from the side lane. This is really awkward. Wavefest is going to deny these silence for a really long time, but they're not ticking up the point. Uprising Academy, they haven't done anything. Everybody has spawned back in for the side of Cratos. You've got to kill 12 people just to start ticking up this point.
Wavefest even put in the Deadeye to buy Uprising Academy the space to move on to the point, but they don't! And now it's sloppy, it's messy, it's scrappy!
Oh, it doesn't matter. Tap cleans up those kind of messes, gets one more onto default. Nice little 3-piece dinner. Looking for more even here with 2:16 on the clock. Maxwell looking for the back line. Can he get a kill? Absolutely. Trades one out with the point ticking down. Things get desperate. Croy coming in with a great flux. He needs to not get an accretion to the face here. Properly putting the shield up to make sure it goes through. Immortality Field's been used. Maxwell strips the back line. Looking to take out the support, but does just barely manage to with the help of default. Amplification Matrix is well thrown in for good measure. 1:55 on the clock. They get 2 ticks for it, but Uprising Academy sent right packing.
Way faster swapped onto the Tracer to try and get back into the fight faster. You were depriving yourself of that flashbang, depriving yourself of shutdown on Maxwell, and that Doomfist has been absolutely destroying. Already got a Meteor Strike bolt up door. You don't have anything that you can try and combo it with, but if you can land a pick, or even better, manage to pull out Immortality Field from Aztec before Uprising Academy make a move forward, you're buying more time off this bank, and Uprising Academy, they're running out of seconds left to burn.
Yeah, time is definitely not on their side. They don't have the ultimates to do this either. Tap needs to come up with his blade and make sure it's big. Otherwise, you're running straight into the welcoming arms of Maxwell and Borkin, which doesn't seem that crazy, but you try avoiding a Meteor Strike and Mines at the same time and see how you like it. Mines thrown immediately into the backline here. Maxwell looking for even more into the Brigitte. Now it's the Meteor Strike to get out. Default finds Grandop, and now there's no shield in the way. They can start farming these HP bars, pushing them straight into the Mines. It was either the Meteor Strike or those, and you know what? Seems like they chose the latter.
And Tap just went down right at the tail end of that fight duo, which is the worst thing for Uprising Academy because they're waiting for that Genji to spawn. He's the Hail Mary. He's the one that's going to be coming up in this kill feed. The rest of these ultimates are simply to allow the Genji to get the best amount of space with this blade. Sigma Flux comes in, that can pull out 6 feet to put Immortality Field down, and then Tap goes in, goes absolutely nuts with that blade, with the supercharges behind his back.
Time is definitely on Kratos' side, but the ultimate game is not. Croy needs, and I mean needs, to get up to his Gravitic Flux to open things up. With False going down first, that's the opening that they needed. Blade is in from Tap. How much value can he get? Gets 2 with 1 swipe. 3 kills found here for Uprising Academy. They have to be able to convert it, and convert it quickly. That last little tick is being gained, but they got to get rid of that one last player. Going up, no time, into OT they go. Uprising Academy get it, but it's just a little bittersweet, Moxie.
But they are able to get the entirety of the point. And at certain parts of their B pushes though, it looked like that was just not going to happen. The fact that Cratos come in with the Doomfist and the Hammond and they find value because Uprising Academy have taken away one of their most potent ways of shutting those two down in the form of that McCree with that flashbang shows that Uprising Academy really struggled. It took them a very long time to actually identify what they needed to do, not just to move on to that point, but to step even towards it. And so going into this next round, you have to make sure you don't let Cratos pick up point A in this first push. Otherwise, it's just going to be so hard to actually hold on to this point because Cratos can just afford to play the really long, patient game of banking ultimates up, similar to how we saw Uprising Academy solve that problem themselves, and then coming in and winning just that one fight, and then another fight, and then another fight.
And they're going to opt for exactly that. Default is back on the Sombra, so you're looking for basically just 2 EMP Blade pushes to try and get through this map. Their only objective, finish with time, Moxie.
But the one thing that you know about this Sombra composition, it worked on defense because Uprising Academy were walking into them. Cratos trying to get a Sombra into this composition, especially if you're just going to have Dritro on this Brigitte with that shield bash and a lot of peel available in the form of those 2 main tanks for that Baptiste, it's going to be extremely hard to actually build up to an EMP.
Oh, but Default's made it through! How on earth? So close to being spy checked. Tap still knows there's somebody back here. The hack's down to the health pack. And with that, Uprising Academy feel a lot better about moving forward because you have control of it. Cratos know they need to stop this, going in aggressive. Borkin's the first man on the front line, fortifies, and both immortality fields used by these teams, but nobody going down. These fights are taking forever, Moxie. The Genjis need to break them before we need to see Maxwell get into the backline, start putting in work. Otherwise, Wayfast is just gonna chip at him with 1 dynamite at a time.
But Tap's hacked, and so the Genji is cowed right now. He can't go in, and so the team can't go in because they're missing that damage. Now they're missing another shield.
Oh, but Maxwell's found the one that they need. Cratos have opened up the door to this A point. Tap has 20 HP. This Brigade is just going to run him down. Gunther rejoining his team now, looking for the Orisa. Immortality Field's been chucked out as well. Kratos have all the tools they need, but they're not finding the kills yet. Everybody's been shoved back into this room, and that is just a whole lot of damage from the Critic Flux. Troy catches everybody, lays down the laws of physics, and sends them on to point B.
But Uprising Academy will have ultimates to defend point B, and this is crucial. It cannot allow Cratos to pick up this point with 5 minutes 36 seconds to spare when you yourself haven't a single second to your name. You've got to kick things off because if you allow Default to build up to this EMP, having that Baptiste is not going to be enough. If he gets caught out in the ultimate, Immortality Field will not be able to save the team.
Absolutely not. Default's still a good bit away from that EMP though, and it's going to take a while to charge up. Cratos though aren't taking their time. They want to push in. Maybe this is just a dry push from them. In fact, that's exactly what it is. They've drawn out the ultimates from Uprising Academy. It's going to be the Blade. It's going to be the Rally. They've gotten a few kills to their names. They've charged up their own ultimates, and this next push is the one to watch.
Kratos could afford a dry push. Uprising Academy could not. They had to commit heavily into that, but they've kept a hold of the Sigma Flex. They've kept a hold of the Supercharger, and Wayfast will be barreling towards this swap. It all comes down to Default's EMP. If it hits that Baptiste, the follow-through will be there. Borkin can drop the Supercharger, and all of Kratos can capitalize. If Aztac is able to keep himself out of that radius, then Uprising Academy can call themselves back in with those ultimates, with that respawn room being so close.
It is entirely, and I mean entirely, based on this EMP timing from Default. Who can they catch? What ultimates can they shut down? In fact, Uprising Academy have an opportunity to get aggressive here before they push into the choke point. Great hold into Accretion. Going to be blocked for the time being, but you've gotten out the kinetic grasp to respawn with your Ashe. Now you have some serious damage to contend with. 4 minutes on the clock. That EMP, a ever-looming threat.
And you can see Default knows the importance of it, does not want to get caught out, and Wayfast is actually hiding out of line of sight, so when EMP comes down, you can send the Barber's Peel.
Immediately, all the ultimates popped here from Uprising Academy. Oh no, but they've done it possibly too soon, Moxie. The EMP stays up, so does the Blade here. Is it a second dry push from Kratos? This fight isn't even over yet. Default's going for it, drops the EMP in to seal things out. Maxwell with the Blade funds up one. Can he find another? They need to kill absolutely everything in order to take over this point. The Baptiste still alive, still giving them massive amounts of sustain up on the false. The Sigma still lives, and Kratos, they used it all, and they are going to pay for it dearly.
when you hold on to EMP that long, it's in the hopes that Uprising Academy put everything they can into that early fight to try and shut you down. EMP does come out, does manage to hit multiple members of Uprising Academy, but you've already burned all of your really important ultimates that could have translated that into kills, just trying to burn out abilities from the other side door. Now default is off the Sombra. Not going to be building up to next EMP, going to be going for the Ash, but you've got to build up an ultimate, and Wayfast is already 70% off the way ahead of you. Not to mention, Tap's going to be hitting that blade any second now. Cratos is going to be another dry push from these guys, and with 2 minutes 55 seconds, they can't afford a lot more of those.
No, they need to find picks based entirely off the halts here, based entirely off accretions and dynamites, and Maxwell popping off on the Genji. Great accretion, catches Tap out. Not much more than that, though. Is Uprising Academy stay in control?
You can see Tap with that blade just waiting in the sidelines, waiting until he sees a mortality field. That's his moment to strike.
Right when you see the whites of their eyes, pull the trigger, bud. Tap comes in, cleans 2. Default gets 2 for his troubles, but not much more than that. Not even a tick to their name. Tap's gonna wave him high. Might as well be goodbye at this point, because you're going back to spawn.
Yeah, Curry going to be coming in with a Sigma Flex 6 feet, coming to drop that amplification matrix in this next fight. But Uprising Academy are still in control of the tempo. They're the ones who can initiate with the Sigma Flex. They're the ones who can send the Bob in. And that means you don't have to go aggressive to pick up kills. You don't have to put yourself in the danger line still because you've got that 7th member who doesn't really count. If he finds a pick, you're patting yourself on the back. If he doesn't, it's no sweat off of the back of your spine.
It's about getting those ultimates out early, making Uprising Academy want to use them aggressively, and then making them whiff. Amplification Matrix comes out early. The response from False is going to be a great clutch. Again, used early. If they can manage to stay alive through this, though, it's huge. But the accretion, the splash damage, the dynamite, it's starting to be too much. Kratos are taking obscene amounts of damage right now. The halt into the Bob as well. So much being thrown their way, but they're still alive. Tap's been taken down. This is a great opportunity for Kratos to move in.
Not when you lost your Orisa, the Orisa who was possessing supercharges them with 1 minute 19 seconds left on the clock. Cratos have to regroup quickly, though, otherwise they're not going to be able to get a recontest cleanly.
Oh, they're not regrouping much, but they're going for it, and this is absolutely not a push they're going to be winning anytime soon.
Not with the ultimates that are going to be there for Uprising Academy. Sigma Flux coming down just to finish things up, but Crown Drop falls. Unfortunately, so too does Kratos' Sigma. And so too does the chances of that push being successful.
I mean, the next one's going to be just as hard as the last. You don't have any real fight-winning ultimates. They're all just time buyers. Meanwhile, you're looking at Tap, you're looking at that Super Blade, and it is looking mighty tasty for Uprising.
And Wayfast as well, going to be hitting that Bob a lot faster than Cratos really want it to be, because that means even if the blade isn't successful, it's still going to chip away at the health bars. Even if it draws out Immortality Field, remember that's only when you're on critical health. It doesn't save you when the Bob comes through a second time.
Well, there's an aggressive Immortality from Uprising, which is a great tool for Kratos to move in on. The blade from Tap finds absolutely nothing here. No value, no abilities, no real kill. It didn't do anything, Moxie. It was the one thing they needed to connect. Now you're on staggers. That timer's ticking down 5 seconds. It might be the OT push mash. No! They tick it over before they can get a touch. It's Kratos with the better time bank.
Uprising Academy outplayed themselves. They did not need to go that aggressive, though. They had the ultimate advantage. Time was on their side. Point percentage was on their side. They got far too aggressive. They just needed to be a little bit more patient. Wait for Kratos to walk into you, and then you pop those ultimates. And it just does not happen. And we are going to be seeing a very similar time bank, though. 1 minute, 3 seconds to 1 minute. So it all comes down to who's able to actually get onto point A faster. Both of these guys had a very quick speed one right onto it off of the back of some very strange strategies. And yeah, look, Default once again going to be coming out on that Sombra. If you're Uprising Academy, you've now run into this twice. I'm praying that they're going to be adapting this composition and that we're going to be seeing Wayfast sliding over to the McCree, because we know one shield bash, one form of CC is not enough to shut down the Sombra shenanigans.
Yeah, there's so many ways that they can actually shut down the Sombra, though, is just denying her value. 1 minute isn't really enough time to build up an EMP. This is effectively an emergency button for if they manage to get it over to point B. You will have the EMP as effectively a security deposit. The first push, though, is what I'm concerned about here from Uprising Academy. It's going to take a long time to get to that point. This is only one fight's worth of time.
The good thing is, though, for Uprising Academy, they're not running into the typical spam damage. No Junkrat, no Ashe, nothing to really slow you down other than that whole Creation combination if Vulcan's able to land it.
And that's the scary one you're really looking for out of Borkin in this show. So much damage being thrown their way. The hack goes down on top. Oh my god, that health bar was low, but they don't manage to finish it off just barely. Looking for more now. Default keeping around the side lane. 30% to that EMP, but Maxwell falls, and now they just got one DPS to make it happen. A pause at the worst time now for Cratos. Currently down a man, and Uprising Academy looking to take advantage. This is definitely as rough as it gets, Moxie.
Yeah, unfortunately for Kratos, they really needed to put some eggs into the basket of that first choke. And that now we're seeing the reason for this pause door is even worse for this team. There's a disconnect on the
Ooh.
defending side, and it's Balkan. You've lost your Orisa. You've lost your combination. You can't pull out those Hulk combinations anymore, and you've lost your supercharger charge as well. That is something that they may not be able to recover from, not just on point A defense, but on the rest of this map as well.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely hard to draw your way back. A two-man disadvantage here. It's not looking good for Cratos. Ladies and gents, it looks like there's going to be a little bit of a longer pause while we wait for Borkin to reconnect. So we're going to send you to a quick little break. We'll be back as soon as our 6 players in. And we're back, lovely viewers. There's still a little bit of pause going on. Borkin is nearly reconnected, or so we have heard. He's in the game. We're just waiting for a couple of R's in chat to make sure they're all ready. But Mox, you were talking with me a little bit over this short break about how much this affects Kratos, and it's hard to really accept the magnitude of what they just lost.
So unfortunately, it's not the ultimate charge that you're really feeling the loss of right now, though. It's the absence of the main tank. Because the Orisa, similar to how Reinhardt acted as the anchor in the GOAT composition of old, she's the glue in this entire team network. Because when those hots come through, everyone's abilities follow very quickly afterwards. And when you lose the Orisa, you lose the ability to slow down the tempo of those fights with those halts, with those accretions. And so Cran Drop, the door is completely open right now for Uprising Academy to just press W with an Orisa of their own and move straight over Kratos' corpse.
Yeah, there's not much. I mean, at Kratos, they can either clutch this out. Maxwell is dead, though. They don't have DPS to do it. Croy is there. Honestly, I think your only option is to maybe get out, give away as little ultimate charge as possible. This is almost a guaranteed first point tick for him.
You've just got to set up on B right now, and it is
Yeah.
the worst thing. It's a bitter pill to swallow. You never want to see a team lose a point off of the back of the disconnect, and Orkin is going to be coming back, but it's on the Hammond door, so you're still sacrificing the halts.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not even going to be a contest here. This is just bonus ultimate charge being thrown the way of Uprising Academy, and I don't think it's really the wisest option. I think you can go back and just swap back over to the Orisa. But no, They've got 4 people. They're going for a contestant, Moxie. They'll be damn 6 seconds on that clock. They want to go for the overtime push. In they come. Borkin, new and real on this. Hammond forces them back into the mini room, trying to get Crandop off the point, trying to get that overtime ticking down, but they're going to contest it to the bitter end. Gunther falls, and with that, the rest of the competition is not long for life. You don't have supports, you don't have tanks, and you don't have an a-hole.
And unfortunately, you don't have Supercharger up either. Borkin's going to be coming out onto the Reinhardt to try and have an impact with those charges, with that hammer swing to try and take that fight close as possible. But if you're Uprising Academy, you've got ultimates to play around with, you've got Amplification Matrix, you've only got 12 seconds, but you've absolutely got the tools at your back to turn this into a full push.
They're gonna make it real, starting out the Amplification Matrix. So much damage being thrown the way of Uprising, and they can't drop out of LOS. They have to contest the point. They have to walk straight into Tabs. Blade finds 3, looking for a 4th even in the back room here. The point's gonna tick over, and this might even be a full cap, Moxie.
Unfortunately for Cratos, putting that Reinhardt in means that you have a presence in the front line, but you're just left holding your shield up when Amplification Matrix comes down. And it looks like Cratos are going to be able to lose this one right now. And that is the worst place for them to be.
I mean, they've got a couple contestants here. Unless I see a kill in the feed, though, doesn't really look all that doable. Bob's throwing it. It's 7 versus 1 right about now, with Croy falling and Borkin going. OT ticks over. Uprising Academy complete a second. It's bittersweet. We all know exactly kind of why it happened. It sucks for Cratos, but they do have an opportunity to match it.
And Cratos should now have an Orisa, so they can really try and stuff Uprising Academy up before they can actually get onto that point. And I have no doubt that's exactly what we're going to be seeing coming out from these guys.
Pretty much expected to be the double shield matchup every single time. Default, I think, is probably going to go on the Sombra again here. You want the snowball potential. I mean, you have to capture the second point, so that gives you that opportunity to. But winning the first fight is going to be even harder now. And now that you're still on the Sombra, you're still trying to force this composition to work. A lot of that falls on the back of Maxwell to be able to do enough damage.
Yeah, because you're missing the crowd control that an Ashe provides with those dynamites. Wayfast is going to be able to set the tempo. When those holds come out from Crown Drop, you're going to have the accretion, you're going to have the shurikens, you're going to have Wayfast with that Viper, with those dynamites coming through to force Cratos back to buy more seconds off of the clock for this defending side. Whereas when Borkin tries to put a halt in, you're not going to have anywhere near the amount of value being picked up. So if Uprising Academy are going to be able to identify the difference between those two Orisas, that is when they're going to have a really successful defense. Whereas Cratos, you're just trying to get into the side room as quickly and safely as possible.
Timer's ticking down here for Cratos. It's match point for whoever can take this map away. Uprising Academy certainly set up beautifully right now to do exactly that. Not much ultimate charge going either way. Are they giving them the okie doke? They absolutely are. The other way around they go, and over onto point it is. It's going to be Cratos trying to defend while they start ticking over the point. The shields, are they enough? Down and back. Oh, and they take down the Aztec as well. There's no main heals. Uprising Academy, they can't really contest this. And all the meanwhile, Default is farming away at that EMP that they need to break this second point. 2 ticks have been gained. Uprising Academy has to move in. They don't have an option. The accretion is huge, though. Keeps the Baptiste low HP, but a beautiful immortality field will be keeping him alive at the time being. Default's up to 40% on the ultimate charge. Maxwell's up to 80, and they have to make this snowball count, Moxie.
As soon as Aztec goes down, Uprising Academy's condition for point A changes completely. It's no longer about securing yourself that point for as long as possible. It's about building ultimates as quickly as possible. Tap is so close to this blade. You need to hit it before Maxwell, though.
And they throw in the Amplification Matrix to start things off. They get a pick for it! Falls! Now it's gonna be Maxwell's turn with the blade. Immediately pops it and then looks to trade out on the Tap. Can't take him down quite, but drops the health bar very low. Finishes him off finally with that right click. Bob's the only thing contesting point right now. We're getting to take over the way of Cratos. Have they matched that of Uprising Academy with the disconnect? Be damned. Can Cratos do it? Gunther back on point. The Brigitte sustaining out with the help of Croy. 2 ticks being given over. Default nearly up on this EMP. Croy's gonna have the Grid Flux to try and seal things out here. There's no CC to stop him. The EMP is almost guaranteed to connect onto multiple people. Overtime ticking down, but it continues to go the way of Cratos. Here's the Grid Flux, picks up the tank, slams them right back down, and may have just locked it out here for Cratos.
Uprising Academy, they've got the Batiste coming back, and he's so close to Amplification Matrix, but they've got to have a presence on this point door. And Cratos, they've got them in the side room. They're just taking so much damage. And we're going to be seeing round 4 complete. 1 minute on the bank for both of those teams. And honestly, even if you're not a fan of Cratos, this is the only way I wanted to see Anubis going. This is the fairest way. Now, both of these guys are going to have access to their entire team roster, and they're both going to have a shot at both defending and attacking Anubis on that even Stevens ground.
Absolutely no surprises here. Cratos come in with a dominant push, and you know what? I can't help but imagine what their comms are like right now, Moxie. I've been on the other end of those. I've been in those comms after you pull out the disconnect hold. That has got to be some high spirits in there. They're feeling good about themselves. They have so much momentum going into this next push. Uprising Academy are the ones that have to set the pace, though.
They have to be extremely cautious as well, because Cratos have developed a strategy, and it's one that's working. It's splitting default off from the rest of the team. If the Sombra does not get found out by these spy checks, then Aztec is going to be right there in that Nailgun's crosshairs, going down early on. And when you've got 1 minute on the clock, Uprising Academy cannot afford to lose that crucial a member of that composition too close to when these fights start, because not only do you deny yourself Immortality Field, but Amplification Matrix Charge as well. And 6 Fate is going to be taking so much damage along with the rest of his team. He's going to have it up as soon as this fight properly starts.
Absolutely, and now the big question arises, can Uprising Academy do the same thing without the help of a disconnect? I don't want to discredit them entirely there. The push was definitely easier. This is the real one. Same exact time bank that they had prior, but they've got to match the push from last time. It was dicey when the recontest came in, and it's going to be dicey now as they get halted into a ton of damage here in the back line. So much being poked away at by Maxwell, 40% up to that blade working on tap, who's low in their own right, looking to finish off the Genji, but the Immortality Field keeps him alive, but it's been forced out from Uprising Academy. Such a key cooldown out from both teams. It's about to get bloody in the feed. Nobody going down yet though, Moxie.
Cramp Up has been hacked though, so Uprising Academy are left without one of their shields, and Cratos can collapse, sensing the weakness.
They know it's there. They take out the main tank, but they're without a main support in their own right. They need to end this fight and end it now, otherwise Maxwell's gonna be cleaning up. Comes in with a nice 2-man blade, finishes off with a third overtime ticking down, and Uprising Academy get absolutely nothing on their third time around on Temple of Anubis.
And again, it's the impact of the Sombra. As soon as that hack comes onto the Orisa, Uprising Academy's attack falls completely off. They've already used Immortality Field. The team is already taking so much damage because their approach to dealing with the Sombra wasn't to put a flashbang through, wasn't to put a Mei in, not any form of CC. It was to ignore her, duh. And you can't ignore something that denies your team ability usage when we're in a meta that is all about denying the other side ability usage.
Well, Mox, Cratos have set themselves up beautifully. They are one measly tick away from victory right now. In fact, I don't think Uprising Academy even touched the point there. This is everything that Cratos wanted. The sweet, sweet revenge for the disconnect push. They're coming in, and default is still on the Sombra here, even though they only need 1 tick.
Uprising Academy still not running that extra little bit of CC though. Cratos know that the Sombra is going to be ignored, and they can go for the exact same play that they've been pulling out every single round of Anubis. The rest of the team goes side room. Default doesn't get found out by the spy check, is able to slip around the back, draws the attention away of that Batiste, and when Aztec is not looking at his front line aren't staying alive.
Keeping the front line alive is definitely not the easiest thing, but it's not the biggest problem they have to worry about either. Maxwell has been a nut on the Genji this entire time. Uprising Academy looking to work their way in and around with the help of default, whose hacks have been pretty helpful in some of these fights, but the damage has been severely lacking. That's why these fights are going so long without any of the kills. Maxwell can go over top, can start poking. Uprising Academy are giving an uncharacteristic amount of space here, though. That which Maxwell is going to look to take advantage of. Creeps himself down. Is he going for... What is he doing here?
We're thinking small thoughts and hoping that he doesn't get noticed. He's waiting for Cratos to initiate, and then Maxwell's going to wrap around and collapse right into the middle. But when you separate yourself out, you leave yourself very vulnerable.
Well, Immortality feels out from both sides. 11 seconds left. Are they gonna get ticked? Are they gonna get a touch, Moxie? There's no dash. He's used Swift Strike. Maxwell has no way to get on point. It's all up to default. They're not gonna do it. Moxie, no. Can't default get there. Okay. Whew. A little bit worried there. Get them the point to the touch, but they're running out of health bars. Tap finds 2. That's it, Mox. It's gonna be a draw on Temple of Anubis. Overtime ticks down. The ball can't get the contest. And Uprising Academy hold on to send us one map further.
Kratos had a strategy that was working, and they diverted from the path, duh. They tried to send the Genji to wrap around the back and force that little bit of attention away from the rest of the front line to try and draw that Baptiste's immortality field out of the way early. But Genji does not have that same escapability that is available to a Sombra, who has a teleporter. She can translocate if she finds herself in a little bit of a pickle. And that means that she has a 99% chance of staying alive. Whereas you look at the Genji, he's got the dash. And if you don't have your cooldowns, gotta help you, you're not getting out of there intact.
Well, Mox, we may be on our way to a 6-mapper. We're starting it off right here. A draw on Assault. There's plenty more Overwatch to be played. However, let's take a look at the map pool here real quick while I pull it up. It's going to be Blizzard World coming up next, home of that double shield that people like running so much. But I gotta raise a question. If default's just gonna run the Sombra the whole time, I can't give Kratos my vote of confidence.
It's very strange that they're sticking with this because there are a lot of pros and cons of running Sombra, but at the moment, and especially when you're running her with double shield, it's mostly cons. EMP is impactful, but there are ways of working around it, and it's only up a couple of fights in a round door, especially if the Sombra isn't able to safely get in to build it. And when you're trying to put a Sombra into a double shield composition, it is extremely hard to build that ultimate up. Rather, you have to play the Sombra like you would a McCree, sit on the front line and poke damage away until that shield goes down, and then you can go for the hack onto the Eurus. It's very situational. Whereas Uprising Academy are running the vanilla pick, they're running the more meta pick, and it's meta for a reason. It finds value all across the board. You don't have to worry about building up an ultimate. You're still doing something just by breathing.
That's the thing. I think there is an opening for Kratos to take advantage of. It hasn't really been huge dynamites coming out from way fast. The Hulk combos aren't massive out of Uprising Academy. I think this is a team that you could easily beat in the mirror matchup, and you've done it before on the mirror matchup while running an Ashe, mind you. There's so many ways that they could look to take advantage of Uprising Academy. I feel like they're just kind of kneecapping themselves running these Sombra.
I mean, going into Blizzard World, though, you wouldn't think that they would come out with the Sombra. You've got to have some form of contest on the other side's DPS. And that does not mean stealthing around their back and shooting them in the skull when you de-stealth as a Sombra. You've got to have that constant presence hovering above their head, making sure that they can't just spam damage willy-nilly into whoever they see pop up, that they can just try and wipe the floor with that Baptiste's face as soon as he executes into line of sight. And so you look at how Blizzard World is set out. If you don't have something constantly guarding that Ashe, they are constantly going to be finding value, and constantly, and I really do mean constantly, cannot stress that enough, slow your pushes down.
And slow is going to be the name of the game here on Blizzard World, Moxie. This is a map renowned for stopping double shield compositions right in their tracks while simultaneously being the best map to run double shield on. So it's kind of an oxymoron, but it does quite the trick. We have not seen C in this map in a long time. Not sure if it exists anymore. May have been demolished. Could be the Stairway to Heaven over there. Who knows at this point? Nobody has made it there since at least like 3 patches ago, Moxie. It's been a long time, is my point. And if both these teams end up running double shield, I don't think we see either of them get that far.
I mean, I am worried if we see default come out on that Sombra and that payload does go into the territory of point B, then not having that contest constantly on the Ashe means you are putting yourself behind in the poke wall. And that's the reason why these fights are slow. They get sloppy with rotations, you lose people early on to random Ashe spray, and then you just can't quite recover ever after. Not gonna be a Sombra coming out though. Default gonna be going on to the Ashe, recognizing that you cannot get away with the same shtick that you were able to run on Anubis here in this territory where high ground is the prized and hallowed ground above all else.
Absolutely, and with that high ground setup comes a couple of questions. What are Uprising Academy going to bring out of the gate here? I doubt for the most part it's going to be this Widowmaker Pharah composition, although I've been stunned once today.
I mean, Jojo's on to Mercy. We've seen it.
With
It does find a lot of value because Pharah is very good at clearing that high ground, but no. There we go, gonna be going for that vanilla. I wanted to see it, but it is very vulnerable, especially when you go up into the air. If default's gonna be sitting there, camping this guys with that Viper, with that coach gun every time you try and get close.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise there. They're just trying to bait us. They like playing with the casters, but now they have to play Genji versus Genji. Maxwell and Tap dueling for the high ground. In the meantime, the rest of Uprising Academy going to be wrapping their way around the point. They've already lost Tridra, though, and that's not how you want to start things off. A very quick fight win here for Cratos.
You've just got to get out as quickly as you possibly can if you're Uprising Academy. And unfortunately, they're not even really able to build that many ultimates off of the back of it. It's only Aztec. And 6V's been keeping pace quite nicely with that Batiste, and so Amplification Matrix isn't even going to be an advantage for Uprising Academy when they try to come into this next push. And once again, it is going to be the battle of the poke damage, but Cratos have the upper hand in that because they've got the high ground. They've got prime line of sight right onto wherever Uprising Academy tried to come from.
Yeah, there's nowhere you can really approach from. The one thing we do want to watch for and make sure they don't do is send false around the opposite side here. Make sure your Sigma's grouped up with your Orisa. Normally the flank's a little bit more okay, but oh my god, Maxwell's done it again. An early pick onto way fast, dashes his way out. A clean fight one for Cratos, and they're getting as much ultimate charge out of it as they can.
Heck, your corners. Maxwell was camping that mega health pack, waiting for the team to walk past him. And when you lose way fast, you lose the brunt of your damage, you lose the threat that's keeping the team away. The crowd control with that dynamite ability, and Maxwell's been able to build up to a blade in half the time it's taken for Tap right now, though. So if you're Uprising Academy, you've just got to take this one right on the chin. And if you're Cratos, well, your best bet is to draw this out for as long as you possibly can. You've got the blade, you don't have to pull it out immediately though. You just hold it over Uprising Academy's head so they can't group up. They can't try to come in for this contest until they know where the Genji is.
Well, speaking of long amount of times, we're already halfway through this time bank. They're going to use the Amplification Matrix first and try and end things that way. Great combo! Halt into Accretion, into the Swift Strike. So much damage being thrown false his way, and that is why you do not go that way around point, my friend. Way fast trades one more out on default, but that's going to be all it is for Uprising Academy. One kill.
Cratos' textbook ultimate economy right now. Holding on to this blade, holding on to this Sigma Flux, and unfortunately for Uprising Academy, 1 minute 20 seconds on the clock. It sounds like a lot of time though, but when you're in double shield compositions, that is one good fight left. And for Tap, that is one blade that has to come in big without anything to start it off. You're not going to have Supercharger, you're not going to have Sigma Flux, nothing is going to make it easy for this blade to come up big.
The only way for Uprising Academy onto this point is by that blade, though, by the Amplification Matrix. They don't even get to use it. Way faster takes down Maxwell. There's no Super Blade to back this up for Cratos. They're trying to get out, but there's still an Amplification Matrix. Tap in over top. We're going to seal things out with his blade. The rally, though, going to be stopping him from that. Nice Conk is going to be keeping him away for the time being, but wrapping their way around the rest of the point. Uprising Academy slowly encroaching on the space of Cratos, who have nowhere left to go, but back to spawn here, straight into the Griffin Flux. Down they go. The HP bar has dropped to half, and Uprising Academy should be cleaning up point A.
But they lost Aztec. It's not enough though. There's still too much damage on the side of Uprising Academy. That Bob making up for the absence, and that should be them picking up this point A. Going for onto the Lucio does suggest that Cratos wants to try and go for this recontest, especially with Corey coming back on this Wrecking Ball. But it's a little bit too late there, and now you've reset your ultimate charges. And now you're feeding yourself right into the waiting arms of Uprising Academy, who will quite happily take those health bars, convert them into ult charge, now have the confidence to maneuver up onto this high ground, because Cratos have to reset the composition yet again. Now they're the ones who are going to be taking so much spam damage when they show their face.
That was a fight that Cratos should have won, and now they're being punished for it big time. Crandop still has the bongo, still forcing you off sightlines. You can use your Amplification Matrix, but it's all just kind of consolation prize at this point. Try and grab the high ground back away, but the card's going to be moving the entire time. Remember, we said most of these pushes end at B. If we see anything more than that out of Uprising Academy, you can admit clearly that they are going to have the advantage of moving into Kratos' half.
But Uprising Academy aren't playing on the high ground right now, so Wayfast is not finding a lot of value. In default, if you're able to hit that Bob before Tap hits that blade, it's going to be such a huge opener for Cratos.
Well, they don't need the Bob, they just need Maxwell, who continually finds these picks at the start of fights.
Uprising Academy, they had all of the tools though, but they just threw them right onto the low ground. Wayfast going to be going onto the Widowmaker. You've got that one tap, one shot, one kill potential. But if Maxwell is able to close the distance, you become, well, more useless than a slip of wet paper. Uprising Academy is going to take one moment, one flash of brilliance from this Widowmaker to open things up. It's going to be so hard to do when you're only finding Orisa and Sigma shielding.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what sightlines Wayfast expects to actually find here. All you can do is play behind your shield and pray, pretty much. Immortality Field's already been forced out of Uprising Academy here, and that is not what you want to see when you're trying to take over the high ground. They're going to use the Amplification Matrix in the middle of nowhere here. There is no value to be found from that. You take out a Bob, that's the best of it. Wayfast, don't do it to him. Okay, Maxwell wins that, rightfully so, on the Genji. Now looking for the rest of Uprising Academy to group up with.
And there goes Uprising Academy's composition. They needed to have the rest of the team maneuver way fast to stick on the silence to set up a crossfire, but you lose your Widowmaker, you lose your presence, you lose any impact you'll have in this next fight.
There's no real way back in, so Wayfast recognizes you got to swap over to the Tracer. 30 seconds on the clock, and it's dire straits for Uprising Academy, but Tap has a blade, and we've seen what he can do with these. Maxwell's looking to match it, though. As long as he doesn't get picked off the same way he did in the previous fight when he had blade, this should be very, very winnable for Cratos. 10 seconds on the clock, and we're just waiting for that overtime to tick down, but they can play the patient game. They don't have to go in on this. It's the blade into the back line, into the Sigma. Looking to slash him down. It's drawn out a lot of utility, but much else than that. Croyd's looking to go in for a defense. One takedown tap with the help of Default, and now stuck in no man's land right in front of the cart, trying to contest it. Down goes the overtime, down one man. Go the Uprising. Kratos with the advantage. You're gonna push it all the way through, push him off the cart, and hold them halfway through B.
Wayfast tries to touch on the Tracer, but not able to keep that overtime wick burning. During we talked about it. We said so often we see that payload stopped on point B because of high ground, because of how slow pushes really do get drawn out into when you're running into that spam composition. That was something that Uprising Academy veered away from. When you put Wayfast onto that Widowmaker, you are seeing a big old statement of, we are going to win this push with one shot. We are going to take away someone that is integral to the composition that we're running up against, like a Batiste, and we're going to use that to snowball our way through the rest of your entire team. Unfortunately, that does not happen. You've got to be able to identify when Widowmaker is going to be able to find value. On point B, the only time that she finds value when trying to shoot into double shielding is in overtime pushes when there is no focus on her, because Maxwell saw that Widowmaker and saw a tasty, tasty snack.
Yeah, and the Widowmaker, you take away that composition's damage. Honestly, there weren't even sightlines for Wayfast. That was a Hail Mary play from Uprising, going all the way back to map 2, Junkertown, when Wayfast popped off big time on the hero, but that's when you actually have sightlines. That's when the map favors it. No longer does it here. Cratos looked to put on an attack, and honestly, it's decent getting into B, but that was not that great of a push from Uprising. It's going to take a massive effort on the defense here.
I would love to see Wayfast going for the really aggressive play that we see a lot of Ashes lean into now, when you know the attacking side are going to use that Symmetra teleporter to get themselves into side room a little bit faster to gift shot, but no, Wayfast going to be sticking with the team, going for safety, not wanting to expose themselves to danger before this fight breaks out, and instead going to be finding value with the spam damage, and that is what you have to be if you're Uprising Academy, putting a lot of value into cloaking this distance as far as you possibly can for as long as it takes.
And this first fight is so critical. It tells you where the ultimate economy is going to be going. If Kratos takes this first fight, it is going to be damn near impossible for Uprising Academy to actually put a stop to it. Dynamite over top connects onto everybody from Uprising. Immortality Fields are out, but it's going to be both of them going down. Uprising Academy looks like they're about to be the first people to lose a player. Cratos and Dridgero dropping so low. All three of them die at the same time. Kratos coming and clean up, and with that, gain the ultimate advantage and look to snowball their way to a map victory.
Dynamite difference. Look at what it's done to Default's ult charge door. 64% and Wayfast lagging behind, not just in the kill feed, but also on the ultimate. And now Cratos, they've got all of the power. They can set up on the high ground. Uprising Academy have nothing to throw into their faces. It's got to put Immortality Field in and face the next fight loss.
This is horrible sights for Uprising Academy. Their tanks are completely cut away. You can't even regroup. Kratos, that is such a ridiculous stagger. That should not be happening right now. Kratos are gifted a free bit of cart percentage, about halfway up to that yellow box of victory and securing themselves a match point. Wayfast is back on the Widowmaker, trying to do it like we did on Junktown.
Trying to just buy attention away from the rest of the team to allow them to safely regroup right now, though. Because if Cratos were able to keep those daggers going, well, you would be seeing the defeat screen popping up any second now.
But the ground has already been had. Kratos have the high ground. They have the ultimate advantage. They have the Bob. They have the dynamite. They've had the blade. Everything is in their favor, except for the fact that they've lost 6 feet already. It's going to be both of that team straight out. The Bob's default, though, being the backline while this part test. It has to be the blade from Tap. Looking for one. Cannot get anything. Gets sliced right on through by Maxwell as Kratos secure themselves up a second map and match point.
You've got to lean into what the map favors. Door and Uprising Academy, unfortunately, weren't able to do it, both on their attack and on their defense. They were never able to recover from that dynamite completely blitzing through their entire composition, Door. It forced that immortality field, it leaves them so vulnerable, and then they're just never quite able to regroup. They get staggered out, they lose ground, they don't get the chance to set up on the high ground, and Kratos constantly hanging above their heads, sitting in the clouds, poking and prodding with spam damage, getting those early kills, and there's nothing that they could have done that would have allowed them to regain that space, aside from coming in with an amplification matrix with a supercharger, but because they've been staggered out, their ultimates are too far behind Door.
I mean, let's be real, Mox. Did I say it? Or did I say it? They swap over to the Ashe, and all of a sudden the holes in Kratos' composition become a lot more apparent. I said it on Temple of Anubis. I'm not seeing halt combos. I'm not seeing dynamites connect from Wayfast. I'm not seeing accretions connect either. It's been mostly kills from Tip and Wayfast every once in a while. Dridro's been coming in and just winning the neutral fight because they don't have to fear that dynamite. All of a sudden, Kratos lock a dynamite, and Uprising have no clue what to do. It was the hole in their composition that was there the entire time, but it took Kratos this long to actually take advantage of it.
And going into Ilias as well, that is going to become only more apparent. It doesn't matter which submap we get to see pop up. There is so many chances for Orisa Halt to be the bane of entire pushes. Whether it's well and you've got the environmental drop into the pit of death, whether it's Lighthouse and you're just comboing up on point, or even if it's Ruins, when you're going for that first initial fight, trying to vie for that first initial bit of control. If a Hulk comes through coupled up with Accretion and Dynamite, then Uprising Academy, if they're not able to deal with it, if we see the same story happen where they lost point A of Blizzard World so quickly to that one ability coming out from default, they are not going to be able to recover from the rest of that map.
Absolutely not, but they do need to recover from the rest of this. It's match point for Kratos, currently up 2-1. Ladies and gents, we'll be back after map 5 after we send you to a quick promotional break. Ladies and gents, we got a real series on our hand. We're going on a map 1, 2, 3, 4, count on 5 for Cratos versus Uprising Academy. It's been a long road to get here of draws, sweat, tears, sombras that didn't achieve what they wanted to, and then ashes that did exactly what they wanted to. But Cratos have arrived themselves at match point and are looking to close things out here on Ilios. Mox, I know this match has been a real barn burner. What have been some of the highlights, and what are you looking to fix here in the what might be the final map?
I mean, one of my highlights has definitely been way fast on that Widowmaker on Junkertown. And so if you're Uprising Academy, you have all of your limbs crossed that Ruins is going to be popping up on that second map because it's not quite here. We're headed off into Well, and finally, we're going to be seeing a little bit more CC coming out from Uprising Academy. Wayfast's going to be onto the McCree, but it's a little bit of a misread. You're going to be able to shut Maxwell's Genji down, but default is not sticking on the Sombra. It's going to be on the Ashe, and now you are going to be behind in crowd control abilities.
Yeah, absolutely no surprises here. Swap from Cratos still on to the Ashe. But again, the Dynamites weren't able to match, so I'm not too surprised to see a swap over. That is a massive Dynamite, a huge Swift Strike from Maxwell. Forces out the Immortality Field. So much damage has been thrown the way of Uprising Academy. They can't finish off the kills. They've finally taken out way fast, but they need to get in the fight now. Otherwise, they're going to get bled out because they don't have a main support. Neither do Uprising, though. Now Maxwell clean up the backline, takes out both of the supports. It is getting down and dirty here, but Cratos have a slight lead.
Maxwell coming in, but unfortunately not able to finish Crandop off. And Uprising Academy should be able to keep this point picking in their rather, Cratos should be able to keep this point picking in their favor, as we're going to see default once again on this Ashe. Going to be trying to put as much distance as possible between himself and Uprising Academy, as Wayfast is swapping onto that mirror DPS. But you've already gone into one team fight. You've already allowed default 64% ahead of you in this ultimate race. You're not going to be getting that one online anytime soon.
Absolutely not. Things get really hard here for Uprising Academy. Not to mention the fact you're running into the Dynamites that seem to always connect here from default. So much damage being thrown their way. They've got a blade as well, but Uprising Academy still coming out with the lead. A one-man advantage for them, but they have to be able to push it into a full point hold. The rally's been popped by Gunther, and this is 100% just a stall. Maybe just 1v6. My God, does this guy stop?
Uprising Academy, they're lacking that Batiste. Aztec fell far too early, and Gunther, sensing the weakness, pops rally. All of the sustainability that Cratos need to keep that point in their favor. Not going to be able to keep themselves alive in this next fight, though, and that should set the table for Uprising Academy with the massive array of ultimates at their beck and call door to come in and get the split into their favor.
McCroy can use this Gravitic Flux to try and peel. No, he goes aggressive with it. Immediately up and over the building. Borkin falls, though. Tapped. Still has the blade online. Traded out. No main support, though, for Uprising. That is a massive pick now. Maxwell in the backline. If he can just get this one more. No, Wayfast hits him in the dome. Shuts him down. Ultimate still up here for Uprising. They've got the Gravitic Flux. They've got the Bob. They have the Halt. They have the point position. They have it ticking over. Cratos are going to be sent back to spawn and be told to try another day.
Quickly tries to drop Amplification Matrix to force Uprising Academy to deal with the fact that they're lacking that main support. But Uprising Academy press W and walk straight through that window. And crucially, though, Dridro keeps a hold of the rally, does not need to put it in to make up for the absence of that main support. And so Uprising Academy, they will have aggression, they will have sustainability, and Cratos, they don't have a single ultimate to play with right now. Borkin very close to that supercharger, but Uprising Academy, with that little bit of extra natural cover to hide behind, can just see themselves through that one safely.
Yeah, it's getting rid of that natural cover that we need to see Uprising Academy do, but they just walk straight through it. Step comes in with the blade, easy cleanup, and only a couple of ults committed to it.
I'm still holding on to this rally as well. It feels like Tritro's only going to put it in when Maxwell tries to come in with this blade, and so you're going to be waiting just a little bit longer. But it's definitely a good investment coming out from Uprising Academy, with the point percentage being what it is for Cratos. 90%, they need one singular fight win, and they'll already be taking this first part of Ilios.
Yeah, but they haven't really charged up those ultimates, Moxie. They're getting close to them, but it's a long way. With Wayfast doing these kind of things, it's going to be even longer.
Oh my goodness, he's just like hopping on a little trampoline and manages to pick Default's head right above the fence. So Cratos is going to be waiting patiently, and all the while they're waiting, they're stuffed up. Maxwell is not being given the space that he needs to build up to this blade, and so Dridro still not being pressured into using this rally early.
Absolutely not. Cratos still haven't built up any more of their own ultimates as well. Maxwell could get close to a blade though, and the bongo blade, we have seen it historically in the hands of Maxwell. It is a weapon of mass destruction. Bob into the back line, 6 feet now gone. They need to win the fight here, and now do they commit to it is the question. No. 92% ticking down, and Cratos are holding their cards close to their chest.
6 feet's gonna be on to the Lucio, but it's not enough, Dom! You don't have immortality field, which means nothing to save you when your face hits the ground.
What just happened? Who was in who spawned? I'm struggling to deal. I'm pretty sure half of Cratos within Uprising Academy's half of the map. Overtime ticking down. They're not even going to get a tick in here. No. Forkin does come in and get a little bit of a contest going before overtime ticks down. But Tap cleans up default. You're losing a lot of that damage. Gunther might be able to come in, play a little bit of foe main tank on the Brigitte. You get a rally up. You get a Diva in. You have damage, but you don't have the kills quite yet. With Gunther falling, that opens up the doors for Uprising Academy. Actually start dealing out DPS, focusing down these targets, and trying to take map 1 of Elio.
Uprising Academy still have a main support as well. Remember, Cratos, they had to swap their Batista off onto the Lucio, which means sustainability is not there.
Yeah, it's an all-time low here. I mean, even at this point, it's just semantics. You know exactly where it's going. Uprising Academy able to focus their way on out. Remember, their backs against the wall. They need to take this map to keep the series running. 100% to 90. We're going to one more Moxie. Big question is, where is it, and what do Uprising come out on? Because we've seen them go out on a number of things. They've lost the Ashe matchup multiple times, and it seems like the adaptations they have right now are working for them.
Well, the good news for them is that Well would have been the hardest part of Ilias to successfully take, because they lose the fight when it comes to these close engagements. They're very strong when it's far away, when Wayfast is able to set up with that amount of help coming out from the team. But now that you've picked up Well, you are guaranteed to see ruins. So whatever way Lighthouse goes, you've still got your best shot at taking the second point to your side.
It's getting tricky here for Cratos. Remember, that lead is going to be slipping from their hands faster and faster and faster. Uprising Academy, though, they're looking to step up the pace with this dive composition. It can come in at any time. Cratos have not played up against it today, so it's going to be a real problem for them to actually deal with. A lot of damage being thrown their way, but nothing too committal, except for the fact that Cratos dies! And that's what you get for picking a composition you haven't played all day. You're a little bit rusty, you're a little bit slippery, and you're going to pay for it massively. Cratos now should be getting the first point tick.
Especially because 6 feet hasn't even needed to put Immortality Field, and only now it comes down because of a mother advantage coming out from Aztec, but you've got nothing to finish those kills off. Your dive does so little damage if you're missing a single component, and the Winston still isn't quite back yet.
No, it's stagger after stagger after stagger right now for Uprising Academy. They finally found the opening they need with 6 feet out of the way. No healers on point. All this dive damage is permanent. This is exactly what you want if you're running Winston Diva. Tickle him to death. Send him off the point with just 18%. Packing to spawn go Cratos, and they're going to have to find another way on up against the dive.
And dive now has possession of this point, which means we're going to be seeing staggers come in door. Uprising Academy, they are going to be fighting until the last breath to get as much point percentage as they possibly can. Tap can be coming in with its blade, and unfortunately for Cratos, they haven't been able to build up the ultimate to actually have a good chance at stopping him. It's only going to be that shield bash and immortality field available unless they're able to delay Uprising Academy from investing early.
And there's no real way to stop that, though. The dive controls the engagements no matter what here. So much more mobile, so much quicker. You get to go in whenever you want. The pulse bomb will take out the immortality field, which opens up the door for Tap to come in. Doesn't get anything, but is welcomed by the shield of Gunther, finding the first pick. And now, without that one player, you know this dive loses a lot of its legs. The Winston and the Trace are able to coordinate, but not able to find enough damage to push this point. Kratos should be finding their way back on as 45% ticks over for UA.
But False is still there with that Diva Bomb, and you know how quickly that Winston can get back in. But there's no stall door. Uprising Academy abandon the point, allow it to slip to Cratos, and now the dive is in the worst position possible when they come in. There's going to be Immortality Field, there's going to be Superchargers, there's going to be Sigma Flexiblade, everything that can just cut those health bars to absolute ribbons.
Where was Wayfast going? I have got to know. That is a pick you should not be giving away.
Sometimes, you know, you get a little bit lost on this map. It feels like the Tracer was just going on to that point to contest it. Force Kratos to split their attention away. Meanwhile, False could come in with the Diva Bomb. But it does not work out. And now you are just setting yourself up to lose even more seconds, even more point percentage.
Percentage down, but so does his self-destruct up the top. How much does it catch? Absolutely nothing. It's going to be Cratos opening up the point, trying to pick apart the doll composition, the double shield composition by separating them away, but he's juggling them all at the same time. It's completely unsuccessful. Of a Primal Rage just gets them back to point, gets them a bit of space to work with, and now it's the Nano Monkey that you really got to worry about. Nano Monkey, of course, is the deadliest on point, unable to be killed. The pulse bomb doesn't find much of anything, but the health bar is dropping ever lower here for Cratos if they lose member after member, 85% on the point.
It's such a long fight though, so even if Uprising Academy are able to win this, Cratos just need one final fight to come through in their favor, and they're gonna have a really good shot at building up to win conditions when 6 feet comes in with this amplification matrix. The one thing that Uprising Academy can bank on though when that ultimate comes from that Baptiste is that they're running dive. Dive is so mobile, it's extremely hard to pin down. When amplification matrix comes out, this team can scatter, and that window will find nothing.
Yeah, the window is incredibly difficult to find value with up against dive, like you mentioned, Moxie, but what they have on the back end of it is a whole fat load of nothing. That's right, a big old goose egg. Meanwhile, Tap is coming in with a blade. Grandop's got another primal unlock. Dridgerow has Rally, so much sustain for Uprising. This should be their map to take. They should be able to send it on to 6. It's last fight territory. Cratos to take the point over. Is there a touch? 97%, 98. Absolutely. Dot composition gets there in time. The rally is in. And so is Tap's Blade. They want to win it. They want to win it here and now. Dridgerow immediately taking out the immortality field. The damage is dropping in, but Cratos saves the best for last. Primal Rage in, juggling everybody off the point. Luckily enough for them, though, it's the Genji. He can jump right back on. Gunther trades out for Dridgerow. Neither team gets the Brigitte. Both teams lacking big time in sustain, but the Nano Boost still online here for Aztec, and now it's all up to the remaining members of Cratos trying to clutch this one out, but unfortunately for them, it's just a tank as Uprising Academy took the point back over in their favor and pushed it into last fight territory.
And they'll have a Tracer Pulse Bomb as well. Cratos going to be going for Maxwell onto the Tracer just to try and get this touch on. If you're able to buy yourself time, you will be coming in with a massive amount of ultimates that you'll hit far faster than Uprising Academy, so this team not quite dead just yet, though.
Absolutely not. No, you do get a contest in here, but losing Gunther, again, you lose the sustain. The double shield wants that a lot more than the dive does. You take care of the honor, though, and you're in a pretty good spot. Tap falls to Karai's Grid Flux, slamming him down to the point, giving Cratos one last chance. This one ticks it over in their favor. Immediately accretions, the hamster off, point overtime ticks down. They can't get the touch in. Cratos evens up the score 1-1 and gives them another shot to close things out here in map 5.
We're going to be headed over to Ruins. And now if you're Uprising Academy, seeing the success that you found on dive, if a little bit momentary, you can come out of the gates with that one. And what I would love to see is way fast going on to the Widowmaker. There it is. And you think about this space that Uprising Academy were able to just forge all the way down the middle of Lighthouse. If they decide to come out on the dive, then Wayfast just gets an absolute shooting gallery. There will be no attention on that Widowmaker, but you're going to be going for this double shield. And now it's going to come down to the difference between these Orissas. The Hulks have to be on point for both of those teams. And for Uprising Academy, that's something that they've been struggling with each and every one of these series.
Oh, but default on the Widowmaker. Watch the duel here. Both of them egging one another on. Who's going to be the first to jump? Neither of them, as they're going to take alternate ways about the map here. Default a little bit more main focused, and meanwhile Wayfast takes something alongside. Maxwell's hunting him down. The Widowmaker difference might just be a Genji difference right now. He's straight on and the shot connects. Maxwell's health dropping dangerously low, and Wayfast manages to pick up the heal, so it's going to be saving them for the time being. But Cratos have the point. They've got the time. They've got the immortality field out, and default is up close and personal. Losing Borkin, though, is not how you want to start things out. Uprising Academy are going to find 3 and close out the first fight to get the tick.
Default should not have been that close to the team, because that means when Tap goes for the Widow Hunt, he doesn't have to differentiate from the path the rest of his team is taking. Unfortunately for Cratos, sending Maxwell all the way to try and catch Wayfast out separates a massive amount of your damage, especially if Maxwell is going to actually be going for the out and out spawn camp. This is nothing else that we can call this right now, Dor.
Yeah, I mean, it's pure shenanigans.
He should not be here.
He gets the health back. I know, there's so much more value to be had with the rest of your team, but he's still trying to run down on this Widowmaker, and I get the feeling the Wayfast might have something special for him. Cratos takes down Tap, makes that Genji difference no longer a thing. Gunther, again, the first person to fall for his team in a fight. Cratos has started out almost every single one like this. Crory falls as well. Main tank's the only thing left. Default has to be making up for this lack of damage. Maxwell finally comes in, regroups, has the blade online, looks to take care of that. Bongo takes care of the Orisa instead, gets stunned out, and Cratos still don't have a foothold on the point.
It's such a long fight as well. Uprising Academy already almost at that 50% mark. Default will have the Infrasight to drop, but we've seen it's not really about the Widowmaker duel right now. It's about the Genji sniffing out those DPS and limiting any impact they have on this fight. So even if Default pops that one ultimate, it's not going to stop Tap from trying to sniff them out.
Absolutely not. Uprising Academy are in a fantastic position to win this one, but what they don't have is ultimates. Tap needs to get up their defaults as well, taking down way fast, gives himself the sightlines all the way away from Tap. Tap cannot get onto this Widowmaker to actually stop them, so therefore Default can actually start to move forward with their team, take over the point, and just start racking up that percentage.
Tap was far too far on the sidelines. He was forced to use the Genji dashes just to get from left to right without being taken out early. And now it's going to be so hard to actually collapse onto Default. The Widowmaker's just going to be in the back lines, and that means it's all up to Wayfast to open things up with a shot.
It's hard though when the rest of your team's caught in Grid Flux. Everybody half HP. Immortality Field's forced out. Cratos have the damage, but do they have the follow-up is the big question. Absolutely not. Tap's got a blade. He could look to end things right here, just waiting for the right opportunity to pop it. 6 speed takes down Dridro. Traded out for Crory. No off-tank now for Cratos. It's a better trade for Uprising. In comes the blade from Tap. They might not even use it. As Wayfast rather takes down Bork and opens up that main tank slot and takes the point back over in favor of Uprising.
And Cratos have nothing that they can use to drop onto this point that immediately buys them the space. Both supercharges. And well, Amplification Matrix not going to be available right now because so too is your Bertiz. Absent completely, no main support, no legs for this team to stand on.
It's a full stall composition. They are going for it. Cratos, they're looking to lock it down. Takes care of the Baptiste. Huge blade from Maxwell. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but one you take every day of the week. Opens up the doors, coming. All the damage is permanent. With the Sigma going down, that's going to be the push, and that's going to be Cratos holding on miraculously.
Flip did not come through because Borkin goes onto the Hammond so he can just filter onto that point a little bit faster, and it was a tag team of Cratos just going one by one, making sure the flip did not happen. And now Uprising Academy, they're the ones forced to swap this composition up way fast, moving on to the Sombra, trying to deal with Borkin's shenanigans when that Hammond rolls through. He is going to be hacked, he is going to be sent back to spawn. That should be an easy way to build up to an EMP, but you've got 9% left. Try to get it online.
And the Amplification Matrix makes things so hard. Maxwell takes down Wayfast. There's no hack, there's no check for the Hammond any longer. It is just pure unadulterated damage from Cratos. Default cleaning up Dridro overtime, beginning to take down in their favor. This may be Uprising Academy's last fight, last chance at vengeance, but they're not going to get the mines. They're down on point. Overtime's over, and it is time for Cratos to be taking a third map and sealing out this series in spectacular 3-1 fashion.
But if you look at Uprising Academy's results today and you compare them with the last time these two teams met, though, you're happy. You have showed immense progress. You've had such a good understanding and grasp of the meta and how to play around it. Yes, we've seen a little bit of times where the team was a little bit disjointed when it comes to that Orisa play. But that can sometimes be extremely difficult to set up, especially because remember, Hulk can be eaten by Kinetic Grasp. And Crory was definitely a very strong presence throughout the entirety of this series for Cratos.
Absolutely, Mox. I mean, that was a barn burner for the ages. Closer doesn't even begin to kind of help you understand what Uprising Academy did there. They completed 2 full pushes through Anubis. They were able to hold out, get the full hold afterwards. They adapted beautifully. They changed up their compositions well, but it wasn't enough to take down the power of Cratos, who again played up to their standard, played some very, very strong Overwatch. I'd say off the back of some very, very good, well thought out swaps.
I mean, I liked what both of these teams showed us. The Sombra was situational, but it was effective when EMP was online. And Uprising Academy, I don't think either of us are going to be forgetting way fast on that Widowmaker in Junkertown, constantly coming up in the kill feed, constantly carrying the team on their back throughout the entirety of that map.
Yeah, there's a lot of memorable bits about this match, but Mox, I gotta ask you, who's your MVP for the whole thing?
Oh, that's a hard one. Are we going to take into account the team that lost, or are we just going straight up with traditional MVP winners only?
I mean, go ahead, take into account the team that lost. I think my vote kind of goes the same either way.
So if we're taking into account the team that lost, Aztec has definitely got to be up there for me. Coming in on that Ana, especially on Lighthouse, the anti-nades were on point. If there's one thing that you want to have an Ana forcing when you're running into a double shield composition, it's Immortality Field to come in before the dive actually manages to drop down. And that was something that we saw consecutively, back to back, anti-nades coming out from Aztec, forcing the Batiste to drop that immortality field, and then that lays the groundwork for the Winston, for the Diva to jump in and actually make the damage stick. If we're going for the traditional route of MVP, then it's gotta be Crory. That Sigma was finding so much impact. The accretions were constantly hitting up with the holds, and the Sigma fluxes, they didn't really flop. They were finding their targets, they were used aggressively and defensively. And the shield placement, we didn't have a single complaint about it for the entirety of the day.
No, that's a good point. For me, I think it's Maxwell clutching it out on the Genji time and time and time again. You run a double shield all day. You expect that man to be popping off on the hero that's currently a little bit stronger than most others. Either way, though, it is Kratos coming away with a massive victory. I'm gonna find out real quick if we have a interview lined up for you guys from the producers. But until then, Moxie, it's been a long day. How far do you see Kratos and Uprising actually going right now?
I think we're definitely going to be seeing these teams put a much better showing in this iteration of Trials than in the last one. They've definitely got a much better grasp of the meta. We even saw a delve into dive coming out from Uprising Academy, which is something that was completely absent, at least from the matches that were streamed in the last iteration of Trials. I was going back through those VODs there a couple of moments before cast started, and it was just double shield, double shield, only Orisa Sigma. And it is lovely to see these guys step out from the comfort zones, step away from what is vanilla meta, and go with things that really suit their playstyle. And they're finding a lot of value from it.
Yeah, flexibility is going to be super important heading into the season of contenders, and whichever teams can show that the most, can show that adaptability, especially when there's teams like ASMR teams like Avoided on the side of Europe. You're having similar teams show up now in North America. Things are getting trickier and trickier to navigate. Ladies and gentlemen, though, I believe that is all we have for you today. So thank you so much for watching. I have been Dora. I've been joined by Moxie. If you want any of the credits, I believe exclamation point casters might be getting you a command in the YouTube chat. I'm not exactly sure about that one. But thank you so much again for watching and have a great night.